The WNBA has a containment problem, and right now, the league's golden standard franchise is leaking. You probably saw the headlines, you saw the trade, you saw the viral Good Morning America appearance where Sophie Cunningham looked like the face of the league, teasing a broadcast career while wearing an Indiana Fever jersey. The common belief is that this is just business. The narrative is that the Phoenix Mercury, under new owner Matt Ishbia, are aggressively retooling around Kahleah Copper and Natasha Cloud. And Sophie, the fan favorite and the spicy sharpshooter, was just a casualty of the salary cap. The story goes that this was a sad but necessary basketball move to clear space for a championship roster. That is the surface narrative. But if you actually pull the transaction logs, look at the contract dates, and cross-reference them with the court filings from the Jean Traylor lawsuit, a completely different reality starts to form. This was not just a trade. This looks like a purge. We are going to look at the timeline the WNBA does not want you to focus on. We are going to answer 3 specific questions. First, why did the Phoenix Mercury sign Sophie Cunningham to a contract extension in September 2024, explicitly calling her a core piece, only to dump her 4 months later? Second, what exactly is in the lawsuit filed against the Phoenix Suns and Mercury organization that specifically names Sophie and a high-ranking executive? And third, is the league using basketball decisions to mask a potential fraternization scandal that violates the very core of the collective bargaining agreement? We dug into the court docs, the CBA article on player-owner conduct, and the cap sheets. The timeline tells on itself. Let's spill it. To understand why the Sophie Cunningham exit is so suspicious, you have to understand what happened just weeks before she was shipped out. You have to look at the contract that was never supposed to be traded. Go back to September 14, 2024. The WNBA season is winding down. The Phoenix Mercury announced a contract extension for Sophie Cunningham through the 2025 season. This was not a quiet press release dropped on a Friday afternoon. This was a celebration. General Manager Nikki Wren went on record on September 17, 2024, telling the media that they were thrilled to have her. He stated clearly that Sophie represents everything they want, and she is a perfect iteration of the type of player you need to get to the top. He did not stop there. He explicitly said that signing her early was a strategic move to clear up uncertainties so they could build the rest of the roster around her stability. Cunningham herself said she knew she was coming back to Phoenix, so there was no reason to waste people's time testing free agency. We checked the receipts. The extension was signed. The guaranteed money was locked in. The face of the franchise marketing push was active. Then, silence. Fast forward just 112 days to January 2, 2025. The Phoenix Mercury trades Sophie Cunningham to the Indiana Fever in a complex deal involving draft picks. In the NBA or WNBA, you do not sign a role player to an extension in September, calling them the perfect iteration of your culture, and then trade them in January unless one of 2 things happens. One is that you get an offer for a superstar that you literally cannot refuse. The second is that something happened internally that made that player's presence in the locker room or the front office untenable. If you look at the return Phoenix got, it was not a Godfather offer. They got draft capital and cap flexibility. They did not get an MVP. They moved a player they had just identified as a core culture setter. If the basketball math does not add up, we have to look at the other variable. The extension proves the intent was to keep her. The trade proves the intent changed overnight. And the reason for that change might be buried in a lawsuit filed by a former director of security. Now we get to the uncomfortable part, the part the WNBA would prefer remained a personnel matter. What exactly was the rumor that allegedly forced this move? In May 2025, months after Sophie was already in Indiana, the other shoe dropped. A lawsuit was filed against the Phoenix Suns and Mercury organization by Jean Traylor, a former employee. Now, we need to be legally precise here. These are allegations contained in a civil complaint. Both the team and the individuals involved have denied them, but we are not looking at the verdict. We are looking at the accusation and how it aligns with the trade timeline. According to the court filings, Traylor alleges that he was terminated in retaliation for internal disputes. But embedded in that lawsuit is a specific claim about a rumor circulating within the Suns and Mercury front office. The lawsuit alleges that Cornelius Crad, another high-ranking security official, was telling people within the organization that Sophie Cunningham was having an affair with Josh Battlestein. Who is Josh Battlestein? He's not just a scout. He's not an assistant coach. He is the CEO of the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury. He's the right-hand man to owner Matt Ishbia. He's arguably the second most powerful person in the entire organization. The lawsuit claims that this rumor, whether true or false, was being spread like wildfire by internal employees as early as late 2024. Let us look at the dates again. Late 2024 is when the alleged rumors are circulating internally among security and staff. January 2025 is when Sophie Cunningham is abruptly traded to Indiana. May 2025 is when the lawsuit was public, exposing the rumor to the world. If you are a crisis management PR firm, look at this board. You have a rumor involving your CEO and a star player. If that rumor goes public while they're both employed by the same franchise, you have an HR nightmare that makes the Ime Udoka situation in Boston look simple. You have potential Title VII issues. You have a power imbalance that lawyers dream about. By moving Cunningham to Indiana in January, the organization effectively separated the parties before the lawsuit made the headlines. When the story finally broke in May, Sophie was already wearing a Fever jersey. The team could say, "She's not on our roster." It diluted the immediate toxicity of the claim. Sophie Cunningham issued a statement in May 2025 calling the allegations untrue and extremely hurtful and criticizing the media for clickbait. The Suns organization called the claims morally reprehensible and entirely false. But here's the reality in the corporate world of professional sports. You don't need a rumor to be true for it to be destructive. You just need it to be loud. And the quickest way to silence a loud rumor is to remove one of the variables from the equation. But why would the league be so terrified of this specific rumor? Why is this treated differently than just standard off-season drama? To understand the panic, you have to look at the WNBA collective bargaining agreement and the league operations manual. The WNBA has been fighting for decades to take themselves seriously as a professional corporate entity. They have strict rules regarding fraternization and conflicts of interest. Article XXX of the Standard League policies and echoed in the WNBA PA rules prohibits relationships that create a conflict of interest or the appearance of one. When a player is allegedly involved with the CEO, the person who ultimately controls the budget, the marketing push, and the roster spots, it breaks the integrity of the salary cap. Think about it. If a player is in a relationship with the CEO, how can the teammate sitting next to her trust that playing time is based on merit? How can the agent of another player negotiate a fair contract if they suspect the favored nations clause is being applied via a personal relationship? We saw this with the Las Vegas Aces and the investigation into the mistreatment of Darica Hamby. The league came down hard, stripping draft picks because the integrity of the locker room was compromised. If the Phoenix Mercury front office knew there was even a perception of an inappropriate relationship between their CEO and a player, they had a legal obligation to act. The golden standard that Matt Ishbia promised when he bought the team relies on professional distance. If the CEO is compromised, the whole front office is compromised. The trade to Indiana accomplished two things legally. First, it removed the ongoing conflict of interest risk. Second, it allowed the team to label any investigation as moot because the employee relationship no longer existed. The trade was not just about clearing cap space for 2025. It was likely a defensive maneuver to clear legal liability. They didn't trade a shooting guard. They traded a lawsuit risk. So where does that leave Sophie Cunningham, and why was she on Good Morning America acting like she won the lottery? This is the final piece of the puzzle, which is the PR pivot. Usually, when a player is traded away from a team they love, a team they just signed an extension with, there's bitterness, there are cryptic tweets, there's shade thrown in post-game interviews. Sophie Cunningham went on a media tour. She appeared on Good Morning America in October 2025, smiling, viral, teasing a broadcast career, and talking about her new chapter with the Indiana Fever. Why the pivot? Look at the agency representation. Look at the league marketing push. The WNBA knows that Sophie Cunningham is one of their most marketable assets. She moves the needle on social media. She brings a demographic of fans that the league desperately wants to keep. If Sophie Cunningham goes down in a scandal, the league loses a major marketing pillar. The strategy here is to appear protection through visibility. By putting her on GMA, by pushing her media career, the league and her team are rebranding her. She's not the scandal player. She's the multimedia star. It's a classic misdirection. While the blogs and the forums are digging into the Jean Traylor lawsuit and the Battlestein rumors, the mainstream machine is pushing Sophie the broadcaster. It is working. The comment sections on her posts are scrubbed or drowned out by fans loving her GMA outfit. The timeline of the trade is forgotten. The extension she signed in Phoenix is a memory. But the math remains. You do not sign a contract extension in September and leave in January without a push. Sophie Cunningham survived the scandal by becoming too big to fail. She leaned into the visibility, played the game, and secured her spot in Indiana. But make no mistake, her exit from Phoenix was not a basketball decision. It was a rescue mission. So here's the summary. The Phoenix Mercury signed Sophie to a secure extension in late 2024. Internal rumors regarding the CEO sparked a potential HR crisis. The team abruptly traded her in January 2025, citing roster flexibility just months before a lawsuit made those rumors a public matter of record. The WNBA has kept quiet, treating it as a Phoenix issue, while Sophie pivots to a national media darling role to bury the narrative. The golden standard in Phoenix might be shiny, but it looks like they used the trade to polish over a massive scratch in the paint. What do you think? Was the trade to Indiana a legitimate move to free up cap space for Natasha Cloud and Kalia Copper, or was it a six-figure cover-up to save the front office from a fraternization investigation? If you want to see the actual salary cap breakdown of how the Mercury moved money around to make this trade work and who else might be on the trading block for non-basketball reasons, you need to watch the video we just dropped in the Locker Room Confidential playlist right here. We track the money the league tries to hide. Click it and I will see you in there.